Basses. And Wayne helped me to navigate, because as I understand it, she was actually staying at the home of her first husband. And I mean, that's almost like 25, 30 years ago.
Danny was there, and I heard that he gave her CPR. I'm not sure. They said they resuscitated her enough to get to the hospital. And, you know, after Benjamin died, Danny's son, I know that Lisa was absolutely devastated to lose a child, and she was left with 3 children, and she was left with so much pain and sadness. So I didn't recognize the person I saw on TV the other night. I really didn't recognize her, and that's why I called Janet Jackson. I was really shocked. But I don't know where she was living, but I do know now where she's living, like you do. And I think it is kind of shocking that she was with her first husband. But the thing is, Lisa Marie is a special person, and special people come in this world once in a while. They come through. I always say this about Kevin Aquan, too. They sprinkle fairy dust on all of us, and then they leave. And we're all better for it. I wish that they could stay longer, but the magic people seem to leave too soon. And I'm heartbroken by it.
We are seeing some pictures, and I think it's important for people to remember as we try to digest this news. I mean, there's Lisa Marie and her mother Priscilla at 77, losing her 54-year-old daughter. And it might be hard to sort of remember the stages of Lisa Marie's life, but she was married to Danny Keough from 88 to 94. She had 2 children, a boy and a girl, Ben and Riley.
I did scoot y'all.
Keough is somewhat famous of her own right. She's about 33 years old now. But Danny was Lisa Marie's first husband, and that's who she was with. She was staying at Danny's home when she went into cardiac arrest. Yeah, and the TMZ report says that Danny found her and gave her CPR for several minutes, Wayne, and then the paramedics arrived and took over and were able to establish vitals, I believe, before getting her, to the hospital. Yeah, explain what you know.
I heard from a friend in LA it was worth getting her to the hospital, that they revived her. They got a pulse back. And the one thing to say is that Danny and her son, Benjamin, committed suicide or died how many years ago? 2002? How long ago did he die?
I'm also streaming on YouTube for those of y'all who are interested.
It's unbelievable that Lisa Marie, is going through this. Priscilla's going through what Lisa Marie went through by losing her own daughter, because Priscilla just lost now Lisa Marie and her grandson and Elvis, and it's just tragedy all around. And Lisa Marie was really magic. When she came into Michael's life, she actually changed Michael and made him more human and softer. He was easier to be around. And this is a tragic loss for all of us. It's a tragic loss because you guys didn't get to know her as well as many of us did, and she was a bit of magic. I know that she was rushed to the hospital.
And yet we feel like we do. And wait, can you stand by for just one moment? I want to bring in my friend Billy Bush, who is the host of Extra. And Billy was the last person to interview Lisa Marie just at the Golden Globes. Billy, you can hear me?
Hi, Ashley, I can hear you.
This is such crushing news, and I think about the interview that you just conducted with Lisa Marie. I need you to weigh in on the facts that we're learning.
Well, yeah, 2 nights ago, it was the last interview she did before walking into the show. She had obviously formed a relationship with Austin Butler through the process of Elvis the movie. I can tell you this, we had 2 steps up. On
cardiac arrest is different than a heart attack.
And I asked her, here, let me lend you a hand to come up. And she was on the arm of Jerry Schilling, who was, an old manager of Elvis and a manager of her, by the way, too. He was a member of the Memphis Mafia and a great friend, and he was holding her arm. And she was very much relying on his support for balance. And she spoke very slowly. And I can tell you this, when the interview was over, I said to my crew, something's off. There's no question.
So a heart attack is basically,
she was a little slow.
Is when the coronary arteries get blocked.
And
and so the heart gets robbed of blood, basically. They can't get blood. And so that's causing a heart attack. A cardiac arrest when a person just stops pumping blood. They just stop.
Billy, she has also struggled at times with weight. She's gone up and down in weight. And as I look at these pictures, she looks incredibly thin. Is that the vibe you got as well?
Yep, sure. She was, definitely thin.
Heart attack can lead to cardiac arrest. Absolutely.
She struggled throughout her life. She's been to rehab 5 times. She was there as a little girl and found her father. She went through it with Michael. She was, famous for saying drugs have sort of defined my life from my father to Michael. I mean, this is a woman with an enormous amount of tragedy around, and she makes it, to 54 years of life. How difficult with 2 years ago, her son Benjamin took his own life. I mean, in unfathomable amount of sadness and pain in her life. It's just crushing.
It is, and to think, she's got a 33-year-old daughter named Riley Keough, who's sort of following in the footsteps of the Presley family into her own righteous path through fame.
Yeah, she's a great actress, and
Elvis did have a heart attack.
Tonight. We've not heard from her. Don't know that you will, but she's extremely talented, and very tough. But to think 2 nights ago, it did not strike me that would be, that something like this could happen. Although I did say, she does not seem to be in the best place on that red carpet.
The other
when I agree with his heart attack, I'm going to go a little further into it.
She's been married 4 times. Michael Lockwood was her most recent husband, to whom she was married from 2006 to 2021. They shared twin daughters together, Finley and Harper, who I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Billy, they're about 14 years old. They're young. These are kids, maybe 8th, 9th grade. To lose their 54-year-old mother like this, I mean, the sadness just seems to know no bounds when it comes to the Presley family, and then particularly these little girls.
Yeah, you can't imagine that. And then you think about...
So when Elvis died...
her father died at 42 years old.
Yeah, of cardiac arrhythmia. And the originally it was thought to be no drugs involved, but in toxicology, his blood was found to have extremely high levels of
going to rehab for it, and it's sort of,
Dilaudid, Percodan, Demerol, and codeine, as well as Quaaludes.
Her father with her father's girlfriend. I mean, it's...
Maybe cardiac arrest instead of a heart attack.
Just in the moment, I think, how she fought and fought and fought to this point.
Also, cocaine hydrochloride. Maybe that's Quaaludes.
A great feat, frankly.
And the Golden Globes, such a big part of the Golden Globes was Austin Butler, his remarkable performance as Elvis, her father. And, how did she remark on that? Like, what were her thoughts as she was going in to celebrate someone who had done such a job portraying her family and her dad?
Yeah, he was one of the bright spots in her life. Austin really did a great job of reaching out to Priscilla and Lisa Marie and forged an incredible bond in the process of, he studied for 2 years before he even started rolling camera on the film. So he really took it seriously, and I think he was one of the bright lights in her life before this moment, before she passes. She spoke so glowingly when I brought him up on the red carpet. She just beamed immediately, like, he was one of her own. He was a really bright spot in her life because he nailed her father, whom she loved so much.
I mean, he really did. And I've heard him speak of the process and refer to her as being so helpful to him. It sounds like this was just a real mutual, positive relationship between them, as she could see her father being brought to life. For so many new fans who may not have, experienced the Elvis mania. But can you talk to me a little bit about the tragedy that we all covered 2 years ago with her son, Benjamin? It was a suicide. I believe it was a gun. And I think he was quite young. I mean, wasn't he maybe not even 30, but close to 30? 27. I think he was 27.
Yeah, 27 years old. It was, I think he had gone through his own struggles. It's a similar sort of this terrible thread throughout the family. Struggled himself in the same way that her dad did and she did. And I mean, it's just unfathomable. But she was, you're fighting through sobriety. You've been through rehab, 5 times. Then your son at 27, you lose him. takes his own life. I mean, I don't know how you'd hold on. I don't know how I'd hold on. But by the grace of God, barely, I would think.
I don't know that I could. I'll be honest with you. I don't even like to contemplate it. The sadness that she has gone through in so many stages of her life, losing her son, when he was 27. And I think that there's this small detail, and sometimes it's the details. As you look at his face, I see his grandfather. I see Elvis Presley in his face,
The picture you have up right now, for sure. Yeah. Look at the cheekbones. Look at the nose. Look at the eyes. Look at the shape of the face.
The eyes, the shape, his lips, everything just screams Elvis Presley. And apparently, and you will know this detail better than I, Billy, but they had matching tattoos. Lisa Marie and her son Ben had matching tattoos. I think they got the tattoos on their feet. They were Celtic eternity rings or a Celtic eternity knot of some kind that signifies that they'd be connected for life. Just the irony in that detail alone is so tragic.
Well, maybe that's, look, her father, her son, this could be relief. This could be relief. Maybe right now she's with the both of them, but it could be relief, right? I mean, we know the struggles, and I know she loved him so much, and you're right. You talk about those connections, but, I'd like to think that she's with him right now. It's a very, very, very sad day. I can't believe it. I just talked to her 2 days ago. It's just stunning to me. How life turns on a dime.
How life turns on a dime. First losing her son and now us losing her. Billy, can you remind me of the trajectory of her marriages as well? First was Danny Kehoe, and then the most famous marriage, Michael Jackson, which was 94 to 96. That's the one most people remember. Some don't even remember Nicolas Cage, that he came afterwards.
I think I was the last interview with Michael Jackson too. I interviewed him in just outside of Dublin, Ireland, a couple hours outside of Dublin in a recording studio. Can't remember the name of the little town, but we were invited there, and I was at a hotel, and they made me ride in a van, and I
hope they're talking about Idaho. This is very, very sad.
We were brought to sort of a mysterious location.
But I am interested to see, because we did have some stuff from Idaho today.
And so that was his last interview. It just says to me how long I've been doing this. Oh my gosh, forever. But that was a tragic moment, and then a short time later he passed. And now, I just chatted with her before she walked in the doors to the Globes. Incredible.
So I'm getting a little bit of reporting here, Billy. The page 6 from the New York Post is reporting that Lisa Marie Presley coded multiple times while at the hospital after going into cardiac arrest at her home, that she coded multiple times, that her heart stopped several more times after she was rushed to the West Hills Hospital and Medical Center. Her condition, page 6 reports, was critical, obviously, right before she died. Here's another detail that I think is so important, that we're told there appeared to be no drugs on the scene of her medical emergency. That would be the Calabasas home where Lisa Marie was staying, the home of her first husband, Danny Kehoe. But Billy, that's a huge detail, that the paramedics say that there appeared to be no drugs on the scene at this medical emergency at the Calabasas home.
That's a relief. It's a relief to know that it, wasn't frantic. I think it sounds like she maybe just gave out. And enough,
and then there's this detail. Here's this other detail. You'll know this before I would, but Elvis's mother, Gladys, her death was also a sudden heart attack at age 46. And of course, Elvis died at 42. Lisa Marie died at the young age of 54.
Yeah, I saw about the TikToker that died today. The guy who, I forget his name at the moment, the guy who ate all the food.
Nature of the heart, because, that's certainly a giant connection. You look at your own family history, and I think all of us ought to do that tomorrow. Make sure you know where you stand. That's just
it's
in a
so
long
true. It's so true. Did you hear anything, Billy, in the sort of the conversations that happen in the entertainment industry? Sometimes it's rumors, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's reportable, and it would be preferred that it weren't. But were there discussions of Lisa Marie's condition and how she'd been, holding up in the last 2 years since her son took his life?
Truth be told, no one's really seen her. She hasn't been out and about and bopping around to events. So I don't know. I mean, it wasn't the conversation at all. I can tell you, I was the last person to talk to her before she walked into that ballroom. And I can tell you that something was definitely off. She was uneven in the balance, did not want to take the 2 steps up to the platform. She hung very, closely to Jerry Schilling's arm. And, she spoke slowly. The speech was definitely a little delayed. So I very emphatically remember my producer and saying, something's not totally right here.
Billy, it's hard to sort of process this all at the same time. And, her mom has sent out the tweet. And if anyone's just joining us, it's just a tragic tweet that Priscilla sent out saying, "It's with a heavy heart I must share the devastating news that my beautiful daughter, Lisa Marie, has left us. She was the most passionate, strong, and loving woman I've ever known." Other than, her immediate family sending out this statement, have we heard from anyone else close to her? I mean, Janet Jackson was a friend, was her sister-in-law, but have we heard anybody react or send out any sort of official messaging at this early time?
I have not, and I confess that, I've been doing you, and I did one other tour here because I was left just outside on the street outside of a restaurant here. So I've not checked, but believe me, it will be a full order of events tomorrow. At this moment, I don't know.
I mentioned before that she'd been married to Danny Keough, Michael Jackson. She was married to Nick Cage, because you keep seeing pictures on the screen of Lisa Marie and Nick Cage. She was married to Nick Cage from 2002 to 2004 before marrying Michael Lockwood, which seemed to be her longest and happiest, perhaps, marriage from 2006 to 2021. And that's with whom she shared those 2 twin girls. I have to fit a break in, and I know you are on the move and doing a lot of reporting, Billy. I don't know if you can stay through the break. If you can, I want to catch up with you after the break. If you can't, I completely understand, and I'm so appreciative that you would stop down, in the middle of downtown LA to talk to us and help us navigate this. Billy, thank you. And if you hear anything, please ping me, let me know, and pop right back on.
You're in my text under Banfield, and I will let you know.
Billy Bush joining us live, and very unexpectedly so, with this extraordinary news that Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of Elvis, the only child of Elvis, is dead at the age of 54. And we have some other breaking news that's just coming in. And as I'm reading it, I'm trying to make sense of it, but I am going to deliver this to you in just a few moments after the break. Again, there's breaking news that's just coming in on what the first responders actually did. One other step that they took in trying to save her life at that home. Back in a moment.
I'm going to mute this. I don't know if we're getting Idaho tonight, guys. I mean, this is absolutely tragic. And I just learned tonight, someone told me that she was married to Nick Cage. I did not know that. All right. I'm looking at YouTube, and yes, TikTok chat is it's busy over there, and y'all are welcome for streaming. Okay, Bryan said that this would be first and then cover Idaho. Okay. I'm looking at stuff. What happened to Waffles? Waffles died. I believe his was a heart attack at like 33 years old. Hey, from Hawaii. I'm going back and looking at these. This is NewsNation for the person who asked. I have a question out of curiosity, do I have any of my mods in here? Okay, Lori's in here. I see Blue Mystical is. Okay. Abby and all y'all, anybody who uses the term jab or blames the vaccine, mute. Just mute. Mute them. Hey, Doug. I'm not attacking anybody's choice to get a vaccine or not get a vaccine. I'm just saying that we're not going to spread misinformation on here. You can believe what you want to believe. I will respect your opinion, but we're not going to spread it through my live. '2020 is covering Idaho tomorrow. I had to hear it with Jeff Beck too. Jeff Beck died of meningitis, which is something that I had when I was a kid. Now I had viral, he had bacterial. Bacterial is way worse. And he was 78 years old. People were like, oh, it must have been the jab. Like, no, it was bacterial meningitis. It's disrespectful to the people who have died. Again, believe what you want to believe. I'm not going to come after you for that. We're just not going to spread it in my live. You had bacterial as a baby. That's rough. I think that she died of a broken heart as well. Did you, Pam? I think this is back on. Send it if you want to. Let me know.
Welcome back. We have been covering this breaking news story that, really flashed across our radar within the last hour and a half and stunned us. Whenever you see a headline like this, it's just so unexpected.
It doesn't make me question because I'm in healthcare and I believe in science.
At age 54, for God's sake, I'm 55. Lisa Marie Presley suddenly dying after cardiac arrest in Calabasas, California. She was rushed to the West Hills Hospital and Medical Center where we're told, according to page 6, that her heart stopped multiple times and that she was revived multiple times, that she coded over and over at the hospital. Additionally, TMZ said something very important, rather page 6 did, that there appeared to be no drugs on the scene where her medical emergency took place, which was the Calabasas home where she was staying, where she was living. It was her ex-husband's home, Danny Keough, with whom she shared 2 children. They were married 35 years ago, 88 to 94, but she was living at Danny Keough's home and had this horrifying cardiac arrest. Some of the reporting from TMZ is that Danny had actually helped to revive her, had given her CPR before the paramedics took over and then got her to the hospital. But I do want to give you this other piece of information from TMZ, that she was administered epinephrine.
She died of cardiac arrest.
She had 2 doses of epinephrine, apparently. And it's important to not mix this up with other things you hear about administered in an emergency like this. It is not Narcan, okay? Epinephrine is not Narcan. It is a treatment for life-threatening allergic reactions. That's what they administered. Whether she had an allergic reaction that caused her to go into cardiac arrest, we do not know. Whether they didn't know, and so in an abundance of caution, tried epinephrine to revive her.
Yeah, I thought I couldn't stream this on YouTube also, but when I was on the Pascal show earlier today, he was doing it. So if he can do it, I think I can do it.
The Calabasas home. Also, TMZ is reporting that the first responders did find a pulse before they got her into the ambulance that took her to the hospital. Again, she was treated at the West Hills Hospital and Medical Center. Official cause of death is not being released right now. That will likely come at a later time. And while we are not hearing from her reps at this point, we are hearing so much from those who are close to her, those who loved her, those who worked with her, and those who were related by marriage to her. And when I say that, I'll say right off the bat, Michael Jackson's family. They have put out this social media post saying, condolences to the family and loved ones of Lisa Marie Presley, followed by emojis of sad and crying faces and a dove being released. Also, John Travolta. Lisa, baby girl, I am so sorry. I'll miss you, but I know I'll see you again. My love and heart goes out to Riley, Priscilla, Harper, and Finley. Priscilla, of course, her mom and Elvis's former wife. Harper and Finley, her twin daughters. She had 2 other children, Ben and Riley. Ben took his life 2 years ago. Riley is 33 and an actress. I want to bring in Dana.
Somebody asked if Barbara Walters got this much coverage when she died. Yes, on Banfield, Barbara did get a lot of coverage on here.
It's an understatement to say this news is
maybe not quite this much, but pretty close.
It is flooring, and I almost think that people, especially people maybe over 50, still think of her in a way as, our little girl. It's almost like you losing JFK Jr. We still remember those pictures of her when she was tiny and when she was with Elvis. I think it's a huge tragedy, and it's incredibly sad. But for some reason, Ashleigh, I also want to say that I think she was truly heroic, and I don't think her life was completely tragic because she was born really behind the 8 ball. She was born 9 months to the day from her parents' wedding. And it was such a bizarre marriage. As you know, her father met Priscilla Beaulieu in Germany when he was a GI, and she was only 14 years old.
She left Scientology in 2014.
At Graceland for 7 or 8 years before he married her. It was a pretty odd marriage, a pretty
Barbara was like 90 something.
And Lisa came into this, and they divorced when she was about 4 years old. She went back and forth between the two of them. As we know, she found her father when he died at Graceland in the worst possible way. And then she had to make
Bryan apparently tweeted and said that they were going to do Idaho after this.
Scientology at a very young age.
But we're halfway through the hour.
10 years old. Her mother Priscilla had been kind of lured in by John Travolta, and she was in there getting counseling when she was 9 or 10. And what I've heard from my Scientology sources, I've covered that subject a lot. She really didn't like it when she was a kid. It was one more thing that she had to go through. And when you think, she put out 3 albums. People forget this. And no less a critic than Robert Billman of the LA Times praised her albums to the skies. She had a wonderful bluesy original sound, but how could she ever really break out of the mold of being
John Travolta's big in Scientology.
And I think she really did try to find love with her 4 marriages. And who can forget her incredible interview, Ashleigh, with Diane Sawyer, when Diane interviewed her and Michael Jackson together and really grilled them and put them on the spot. And Lisa Marie was a tough cookie. She was every bit a match for Diane Sawyer. She wasn't having some of Diane's probing questions. She stood up for herself, and she stood up for Michael. And you heard what Billy Bush said just a few minutes ago, that, Lisa Marie brought out a lot of humanity in Michael. It was probably one of the few normal times in his life. And when she left him, he went downhill. So I think there was a lot of heroism and a lot of strength. She wrote an incredible essay for People magazine last year on the National Day of Grieving. And she said that her son, Benjamin, who, as you said, committed suicide 2 years ago, was so much like Elvis, she was scared. And she said also that when he died, the worst part after the part of losing him was so many people couldn't handle it and kind of avoided her. So she went through so much, and she's only 54, and it's so sad she left everybody. But I think she really tried, and she had beautiful moments in her life and fantastic achievements as well.
Now, Dana, your reporting is just so poignant and so insightful and so knowledgeable. I can't thank you enough. Just right off the bat, calling you and you having all of that right at the tip of your tongue. You mentioned it, that she was a singer in her own right. I just want to play, if I can, some sounds from Lisa Marie Presley. I want to hear her singing. I want you all to hear her talking about the movie
Thank
that
you for
had just
sending
come
that.
out,
I know
you
you
know,
I
featuring
think
her
I know what
father,
you said,
Austin
so
Butler,
thank you.
playing such an amazing rendition of Elvis Presley. And then the last interview that Lisa Marie ever gave. Let's have a listen.
She's cool, yeah, she's It was mind-blowing, truly mind-blowing. I really didn't know what to do with myself after I saw it. Yeah, I'm gonna grab your line. Yeah. A lot actually. I adore him.
When you first saw him, what did you think?
You mean in the movie?
Yeah, just saw him, in the role.
I was mind blown, truly. I actually had to take like 5 days to process it.
You know, you heard Billy Bush just moments ago on this program saying that was the last interview. It was just days ago at the Golden Globes where he had this conversation with her and noticed that she was not standing under her own power, that she was holding on to her manager and friend, that she needed help getting up on the podium to actually go through with that interview. And others have reported that she had been slurring. Nobody in their right mind expected, for God's sake, no one expected that this news would follow just days later, that Lisa Marie is dead at the age of 54. And the tributes are pouring in. When we come back after the break, you're going to hear from the Presley family. They have just released a statement, and I'm just gathering it for you, and I'll have it for you in just a few moments. We're back in a moment.
I'm starting to think we're not going to get, I'm muted. I'm starting to think we're not going to get Idaho. I'm going to check the YouTube people, see if they have any questions I can answer real quick. David, she's had health problems for a little while. Yeah. Oh, she went back. Somebody's saying that she went back to Scientology. Yeah, Cuomo probably will, if not. What will you cover when you aren't doing Idaho coverage? So that's a great question. I will talk about, any news stories that I find interesting. I'm going to talk about the Anna Walsh thing. I actually made a video on that, kind of giving an update, snapshot of what's going on there. I did another thing today on the classified documents found at Biden's old office and home. And for the record, I will report the facts on it. I don't get political, and I don't state what my political opinions are. People like to make assumptions about me, but nobody really knows. But I'll talk about those types of things. And then this series. So yeah, I know Jeff Beck is very sad also. Legend, absolute music legend. But I also have a series, and I know it's kind of morbid, but I have a series where this video goes, called Morbid Deaths, or not Morbid Deaths, sorry, called Notable Deaths, which again, no, it's kind of morbid. And I'll tell you how that came about. I try to be, like, when a notable death happens, I try to be one of the absolute first people to get it out there. I think when Queen Elizabeth died, I was definitely at the top of that list. But I used to. So my mom and I no longer have a relationship. And if you've seen the one pin video that's got like 13 something million views, that kind of gives you a little background on that. But I used to do this one thing with my mom, and it was kind of weird that whenever somebody died, I am going to do a video on Shinquella Wabbits, and I started researching her today. Anyways, I used to call my mom when somebody famous died. Like, Mom, guess who died? And I kind of, as weird as this, missed doing that. And now I found a way that I could do that on here. So I do that. It's a weird thing. Heath asked, who is Jeff Beck? Jeff Beck is one of the greatest guitarists that have ever lived and ever will live. He started in a group called the Yardbirds, which, if you don't know the Yardbirds, one of the 60s British invasion bands, absolutely amazing. I don't know if she watches that. I know that she had a couple TikToks accounts because they pulled up and I blocked them, so I don't know, maybe. But Jeff Beck was absolutely amazing, and then you can go into the Jeff Beck group after that if you want to listen to the Yardbirds first and Jeff Beck group. And then he just put out an album with Johnny Depp called 18. Literally one of the greatest, legendary guitarists. I cannot stress this. Hendrix level guitarist. What else am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about Shanquella Robinson because that needs some as well. I actually have a really funny story, which I can tell y'all, on the next break if y'all remind me to, about Jeff Beck and Alice Cooper. I actually got to hear it today from my buddy who works for Alice. And it's actually a super cool story. It's kind of funny. I don't know when Alice made a statement yesterday about Jeff. I was talking to him about that statement. And anyways, you want me to tell you all that story on the next break? You probably know Jeff Beck's music. Pippi, we can talk about that after the next break too. That's a very long story, but no, the opportunity for that is sailed.
If you're just joining us, we have been following this remarkable breaking news story, the unexpected death of 54-year-old Lisa Marie Presley, going into cardiac arrest at the Calabasas home where she was staying. This is the home of her former husband.
And for you two people, I'll answer the questions after Banfield because I have the screen turned toward the TV.
Epinephrine that is used for the treatment of life-threatening allergic reactions. We don't know if that's why she went into cardiac arrest or if they had to make an educated guess and just did what they could. They apparently got a pulse before they got her into the ambulance and off to the medical center in Los Angeles where she was treated, and apparently, according to reports, coded several times. They had to bring her heart back several times, according to Page 6. She was at the West Hills Hospital and Medical Center where we're told she died. No official cause of death.
I think she was 9 when Elvis died.
When we began this program, we were not expecting to bring you this news. This is truly breaking and surprising to everybody. I had planned to bring you a show about Bryan Kohberger, who was making a second court appearance today in this earth-shattering murder case in Idaho before college students. And there were developments, and something did happen in that courtroom today. And I am going to bring you that. In fact, Brian Enton is standing by in a moment. I promise I will bring you the reports from what happened. But I do want to get a couple of other things out that I think are really critical. The family of Elvis's brother, David Stanley, has released a statement about the death of his niece. Uncle David said, I am devastated by the passing of my niece, Lisa Marie Presley. My heart is broken. I have such great memories of her growing up at Graceland. I will miss her. I love you, Lise. I think it's either Lisa or Lisa, but this is David Stanley. This is her uncle, Elvis Presley's brother, who released this statement on the death of Lisa Marie. There are other statements too. Leah Remini saying, thinking of you and praying for Lisa Marie Presley, her 3 daughters, and her mom. Country music star Leanne Rimes. Lisa Marie Presley, how heartbreaking. I hope she is at peace in her dad's arms. My heart goes out to her family. Too much grief in just a couple of years, obviously referring to the death of her son, Ben, who took his own life by suicide 2 years ago. Brett Michaels, my deepest thoughts and condolences go out to the family and friends on the loss of Lisa Presley. Bette Midler, dear God, Lisa Marie Presley has died. She was 54 and so beautiful. I am in shock. And Donatella Versace saying, I will never forget the times we spent together. Your beauty and your kindness shone so bright. Rest in peace, Lisa Marie. We will never forget you. Octavia Spencer, so sad that we've lost another bright star in Lisa Marie Presley. My condolences to her loved ones and multitude of fans. Whether Lisa Marie will be buried at Graceland remains to be announced. It is more than likely, as her son Benjamin, 2 years, was buried there as well. I want to go to Hadley Mears, who's a writer and historian for The Hollywood Reporter. You know, Hadley, there's so much coming in the way of tributes, and yet so few facts. What are you hearing?
I've been basically hearing that, she went into cardiac arrest at her home, and that it's just such a tragic thing. And I just think so many parallels about the end of her life and the end of Elvis's life, and just the kind of legacy that she leaves behind, and that how important this family is to kind of the American psyche.
Maybe that's why when something like this happens, Dana Kennedy with the New York Post just said, these kinds of moments almost bring to memory things like the passing of John F. Kennedy Jr. It wasn't expected. And it can happen. Of course, it can happen. It's just that we see so much tragedy in a famous family. And then when it's loaded upon an additional tragedy, all within a couple of years, it just seems kind of hard to process. I had another question for you. I don't know if you'll know the answer. I don't know if anyone does, but she was the joint heir to Elvis's estate with her grandfather and her great-grandmother after Elvis died, which my assumption is she would pass on everything from that estate to her surviving 3 children. Do you know anything about that?
Actually, she sold a majority of her Elvis assets a few years ago. She was really messed over with by a money manager and lost a bulk of her fortune. So she actually didn't own most of the Elvis Presley estate anymore, but she did still own Graceland. And she was actually there just a couple days ago to celebrate his birthday.
It's just sort of, I'm rarely left speechless in the job that I do, but seeing that headline, Lisa Marie Presley dead at age 54, it just doesn't seem real still. And to hear Dana Kennedy say she was heroic. She was heroic in her life. She had battled so many demons, being in and out of rehab 5 times, losing her son 2 years ago, finding her own father, Elvis Presley, dead. At a young age. It's astoundingly tough to sort of process it all. Hadley Mears, thank you for being with me on this very sad occasion and adding your knowledge to this story as well. When we come back, I've got a few more details I need to give you about this developing breaking news story.
No more details
and I'm also
we need
going to
about
bring
this.
in Bryan to tell you what happened in Moscow, Idaho today, and what's about to happen in the days and the weeks and the months to come. We're back right after this.
I get it. It's tragic, man. She was 54, and her father was an absolute icon. Yeah, it's 9 p.m. Eastern time. I'll see if I can possibly stream that, Lisa. I know. It's okay. If you guys see the video that I did about announcing her death, I made a mistake. I think I told you when I came in here. Because in my mind, in my Mandela effect mind, I thought that the kids that Michael Jackson had, who he had with Debbie Rowe, he had with her, and people jumped all over me for that. Oh, Alice Cooper thing, yeah. So Alice Cooper made a statement so for those of y'all who don't know, one of my absolute closest and oldest friends is Alice Cooper's personal assistant. So I have a lot of fun Alice Cooper stories and a lot of Alice Cooper things. For example, I have signed one of Alice's stage-worn top hats, and from what I understand, I am the only person ever to have gotten one. Okay, so that being said, this is where I get some of my information. And apparently, in the '60s, in Detroit, Alice was in a group called the Spiders, which turned into the Alice Cooper Band. And dudes came in and said, "Hey, Yardbirds," which Jeff Beck was in. The Yardbirds are coming to town. Do you guys want to open for them? And they were like, yeah, we definitely want to open with them. So anyways, nobody told them what they should or shouldn't play. But at the time, the Spiders were a Yardbirds cover band, mostly. And so they go to open up for the Yardbirds, Jeff Beck, the grand that Jeff Beck is in. And they end up playing the Yardbirds' entire set because nobody told them what to play. These are like high school kids, teenagers, right? And so then the Yardbirds have to follow up afterwards, playing literally the songs that they just heard from the opening band. So true, and I talked. My buddy told me that he was like, I'm actually surprised Alice didn't share that story because that's just a very Alice story to share. I haven't been covering the Delphi murders, but depending on the hearing, I might be able to do something with that. Let me look into that. I might be able to stream it. I know that Haley, Robin Haley, has been doing a lot with the Delphi murders. I know that's kind of her. That case is kind of her baby, so to speak. There's also an Alice Elvis Presley story, which I guess would be appropriate. I can share that afterwards. We don't have enough time on this one, but on the break. But that's actually a good story. And there's a good Alice Cooper, Salvador Dali story as well. I don't know anything about that case, Rose. I'm sorry. So the Delphi murders is basically a famous case that was unsolved until very recently. I'm gonna go back and look and see. It was like just in like the last couple of months or so, right? Let me go back and look. Who is Alice Cooper? Okay. Heath and Chastity, when we get off, when this is over, you need to stay on. We need to have a talk about music, and I will. We have to do that. We have to have a talk about music. So the day that the bodies, it was in Indiana, Delphi, Indiana, so I can tell you that much. And it was the date, I guess, February 14th. Their bodies were discovered, and I think they just made an arrest. Yeah, December 6th, I think, around that time of last year.
Are just joining us, the NewsNation breaking news story, which really just sort of had us all stopped in our tracks, is Lisa Marie Presley's untimely death today at the age of 54, apparently having suffered cardiac arrest in the home where she was staying in Calabasas, California. That's just, about 30-40 miles from downtown Los Angeles.
Yes, Alice Cooper is a rock and roll
lovely
legend.
Suburb where her former husband, Danny Keough, lives. And that's where she was living. She was living in the home of her former husband. 4 husbands ago, he was her first husband. They divorced in 1994 before she married Michael Jackson. But they had 2 kids together, and they lost their oldest, Ben, 2 years ago.
Yeah, we're gonna get like 5 minutes of this tonight. Then we'll have
the reason that they had,
I'm gonna turn YouTube around after this, and we'll chat. Let's foremost covering it
today, other than just the news itself, is the tweet from Priscilla Presley, her mother. It is with a heavy heart that I must share the devastating news that my beautiful daughter, Lisa Marie,
Johnny Depp is actually in
has
another
left
band
us.
with Alice
She
Cooper
was
called the
the
Hollywood
most
Vampires,
passionate,
and they're
strong,
pretty great.
and
Johnny
loving
Depp did
woman
a cover of
I
David
have ever
Bowie's
known.
Heroes.
Earlier,
That's
she had tweeted
unbelievable
out,
good.
"Pray for my Lisa Marie," because she was being treated in the hospital. But obviously, she did not survive. Page 6 saying she quoted multiple times.
I'm not going to mute you. We're just going to educate you. That's all.
Cardiac arrest. Paramedics had apparently revived her at that home using 2 doses of epinephrine, which treats, terrible allergic reactions. We don't know if that's what happened.
They're not going to
give
Ashley more
her with her son Ben, and I don't have to tell
why,
you
so we can hear about this for another hour?
To his grandfather Elvis Presley. It's just astounding when you look at that.
Consequently, Jeff
we are
Beck
waiting to hear
and David Bowie, both
we have not heard that yet.
icons
but just
in music,
2-3
both
days ago,
died on
David
January
Rose,
10th.
she had appeared like she struggled a little
Bowie
bit,
was 7 years
slurring
ago.
and having trouble standing on her own power. We're going to continue to follow this story. I'm going to break from it for just a moment because we had other breaking news today in Idaho, where the only suspect in the case of those 4 college kids who were murdered made a second court appearance. Bryan Enton is standing by live. He was in the courtroom today. And Bryan Kohberger looked very different when he walked into that courtroom. He had scratches all over his face that sent the internet into an uproar. Tell me what you learned, not only about that surprising appearance, but also what did not happen during that court appearance, Bryan.
Yeah, let's start with what happened in the court appearance. Very, very short court appearance, 7 to 10 minutes long. He was in the jail, which is in the basement of the building behind me. They brought him up to the courtroom. It started right away. He looked a little skinnier to me. He was quiet today, did not look at the gallery where we were all sitting. And it was quick. The judge basically decided that she would grant the defense's wish to have a preliminary hearing, not in a couple of weeks, not in a couple of months, but 6 months from now, on June 26th. They expect that it will last about a week, and it's going to be intense. They're going to call witnesses. We're going to learn new evidence, and Kohberger will have to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Okay, let's get to the scratches that you talked about, though, Ashleigh. You can see them right there. If you look closely right there, they're on the side of his face. I was sitting right behind him. I didn't notice them right away, but man, Twitter lit up. And then when you zoomed in, you could see the scratches there. We later learned from the sheriff, he says that there was an incident with Kohberger shaving and that he cut himself while shaving before court, Ashleigh.
So a lot less than people were, theorizing had happened. They thought maybe he'd been hurt in that jail. But in that jail, and that's a really important part, this is a small county jail. Originally, we heard 42, then 37 different inmates could be housed there. Maybe the number's smaller because he has to be segregated. He is a high target inmate, and obviously they'd have to, treat him accordingly. I assumed if he was going to sit for the next 6 months before another court appearance, he would be sent to a place that could house somebody with that kind of maximum security interest a little easier. But you're hearing that he's going to stay put. He is going to stay in those same Prison Orange, Latah County Jail issued clothing and that particular cell and facility.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any word that he's going to be moved, Ashleigh. And I'll tell you, just from being here with the police department, I think they take a lot of pride in their investigation and the work that they've done, even though they're a small department. And I think it's kind of the same thing with the sheriff's office and the jail. Like, I think they want to show the community that they can do this and carry this through. And it's my sense that he's going to stay put right here in this little jail in the basement underneath the courthouse.
Wow, it's such a shock. I expected a lot more today. I certainly expected a little bit more information, some evidence that might give us some more, rounding out of what happened in that home to move forward with a free trial. But Bryan Ensign, thank you for that update. I appreciate it. We're going to do even more fulsome coverage tomorrow on this case. In the meantime, I'm going to wrap this up only by telling you that we are going to continue the coverage of Lisa Marie Presley's untimely death at the age of 54. In fact, just after the break, I'm actually going to join Cuomo's show and give you some of the more updated news and some of the people who have been responding, like Tom and Rita Hanks. So if you'll stay with us and be patient, we're gathering more of this breaking news and we're going to bring it to you right after this break. Okay, I'm going to let y'all pretend to vote and say if you guys want to continue watching Lisa Marie Presley coverage, let me know. And then if you guys all vote to do that, I'm just going to ignore your vote and make y'all listen to me anyways. So, all right, are we good? Okay? All right, okay. So let's turn y'all around. Alexa, and we'll turn the YouTube people around too because they're on the computer. Alexa, turn on theater. Okay, let me get myself situated here. Sorry, I know I just set off a lot of y'all's Alexas. I'll show you this real quick before. I'll have to show both of y'all this before. So my wife ordered me this really super awesome Christmas present, and apparently it got back ordered, but it arrived today, and it's amazing, and it really hurt us to get it up the stairs because it's so heavy. But I'm going to show y'all. I'm going to show YouTube first. But I'm going to show y'all what it is. I'm very excited about this, and then I'm going to turn y'all around. So I got this, and it is life-changing, guys. This chair is life-changing. So I'm going to turn y'all around now. We're going to talk about this stuff. And then for y'all, and before I turn you guys around, that's it right there. You didn't warn us before you do that, so we can put it on mute. Okay. Let me turn y'all around. Turn YouTube around. Or turn TikTok around. Okay. Hey, guys, let me talk. So YouTube didn't get their question. No, it's not this. It's a massage chair. Let me get to the YouTube people and answer their questions because I was able to see y'all, but I had to have them turned around. So let me see
what they asked, and I can answer theirs. Yeah, that thing is awesome. Apparently, it was originally like there was apparently a massive like Black Friday kind of deal on it, and it was like 60 or 70% off, but it was originally like $51.99. So I'm very excited about it. Well, I just got it today, so Alyssa did do great with that. So, and and I'm going to show this to I can't remember their name, something in Chastity. It was very difficult to carry this, but no, the chair is wonderful. The chair is wonderful. That is my record collection. And if you guys want to see it, I'll let y'all know as well. But yes, I do like music a lot, and I would play Alice Cooper for you so you would know who he was, except YouTube. I can't do it on YouTube because I will get a content violation, but we can talk about that in a minute. So anyways, that being said, let me go look at their questions real quick, because I saw a lot of people asking stuff, and thank you guys for hanging out on YouTube. And just for anybody who wants to know, if y'all have like pressing questions, I would recommend, because I'm also trying to build my YouTube, jumping over there and following, because right now there's like 60 people total. So the chat is like super chill. I'm just saying. I was born in 82 exactly. So good job. Good guess. Good guess. No, I'm going to have to listen to some music. Abby, I can't help it if you don't like good music. All right, let me go back. Okay, so I saw some of this stuff. Talking about Lisa Marie, David asked if she was sick for a while. I think I answered that. I think I was able to look over and see that and say that apparently she'd been dealing with some stuff. Well, I think Bryan will use the Kennedy Alfred plea, and as things become more apparent, we will hear something way before June 26th. Let me throw this up here, and let me look up what the Kennedy Alfred plea is. Because I don't know what that is, and like I said, I have no problem sitting here saying I don't know when I don't know something. Their Alfred Kennedy plea. There it is. Give me a second. I'm telling you. Okay, basically, so he pled. He says that he's innocent, but he pled guilty to not get the death penalty. No, I don't think he's going to do that. I don't. This hair's like, oh, it's just like going in a weird place there. Fix it. We are still following your new content, awaiting June. Me too. I am going to start probably very soon. I know the video about me. When I asked if you guys want me to, and this is for both TikTok and for YouTube, if you guys want me to cover the legal documents and as far as the case goes, and break them down, because I have been so busy. One of my followers who is an attorney with 33 years experience, she has been helping by breaking some of them down. She sent me the first breakdown today, because she knows I've been incredibly busy, and so I'm hoping to get that in a video here very, very soon. And then actually she sent me 2 of them. So we're going to break that down so people understand. My hair's just not working well today. So they understand what's going on. Well, it's whatever it is, what it is. And exactly what they mean. Okay, next question. Justin, if a witness is under the influence at the time of the crime witnessed, does that affect their credibility? This is a really good question, and the answer is yes. It can. The defense can tear that apart, because obviously if you are intoxicated, whether it's drugs, alcohol, you're on whatever type of substance that you might be on, that can impede your cognition and your ability, to remember things properly, or even in that moment. So we don't know what she was on or what she wasn't on. She might not have been on anything. We make the assumption that they're college kids, but her and Bethany were home much earlier than everybody else. So they might have been the kids that were, not drunk that night. I mean, we don't know. I don't know one way or the other. All right. Oh my God, you got threatened with contempt at 17. That's hilarious. Not funny, haha, but funny. I mean, funny, haha, too. Yeah, I'll have to show you all my Alice Cooper hat. I can show. I mean, I have really good stuff on the walls. I'll show you all in a little bit. Yeah, it is Delphi. I know. I knew that, but I said it wrong. Kind of like how I say Moscow sometimes, and people will jump all over me for that too. He had a razor in prison. I don't know why I never thought about shaving while in prison. Yes. I know, because I know weird things, but they get like the cheap Bics, like the ones that you get. And I'll tell you what, I can't shave with those. I butcher myself every time I've shaved with any of like the little Bic razors. So yeah, I know that that's just typically what they get. All right. I don't know if the girls had an Alexa or not. If so, Danielle, they can definitely pull that data. You thought Alice Cooper was a woman, Bryan? No, Alice Cooper is a man. So I can tell y'all Alice Cooper stories because, again, my friend works for him, and I've met Alice on several occasions, and he has told me stories. But that's if both sides want that. And but that could take an hour anyways. Alicia told me not to tell people to come here because they like chill. Will I stream 2020 tomorrow? I'm going to say I'm going to say 90% yes. Can we talk about the discovery process and what happens in June? This is a very good question, or good ask. I guess it is a question. This is a good question. So a lot's going to happen during the discovery process. So what happens in this particular situation is there's certain things that have to be, a lot of evidence or what they have to be turned over, not necessarily physical evidence, but, logs and everything like that, like whatever the prosecution has to be. So I'm reading a comment. I got distracted for a minute. It has to be shared with prosecution, has to share it with the defense. So I also imagine that investigations are still going on with everything. They're still probably waiting for lab results, toxicology. I mean, they might have toxicology back now, amongst a myriad of other things. We don't know what they have and what they don't have. But yeah, that's what's going to happen between now and June. And then they're going to use that to help try to, build that case. Can I explain today what happened in basic terms? Okay, so the question is, basically, can I explain today what happened? I'm guessing you mean at the preliminary status hearing. So basically, what happened today is Bryan essentially waived his right to a speedy preliminary hearing, meaning he could have had it something, I think they said as quickly as 14 days, and he waived that to have it basically in 6 months. So it'll be late June, I think this is June 26th at 9 a.m. So basically at that point, it was a meeting to schedule another meeting. It was a court date to schedule another court date. And at that point, he'll be forced to enter a plea of guilty, not guilty, or whatever he's going to plea. And they said they're going to take 5 days to do that. And somebody asked, I think in the TikTok chat earlier, yes, I think the state has a lot, and I'll talk about that in a second. But the defense asked for 5 days because what they're going to want to do is they're going to want to go through all the evidence, present everything that they can. And, the defense, their goal is to try to get it dismissed and let Bryan go free. The state, the prosecution, they're going to want to go to trial, which I think is ultimately what's going to happen. So to add on to what we said here, where the question was, do you think the state has enough? When typically affidavits are 2 to 3 pages, and this one that we saw was 18 pages. That's a lot, and they're not. As I've said before, I gave the Moscow police a lot of shit and the FBI a lot of shit, and this is because I was coming off Gabby Petito, and I watched them search in a swamp for a month to find nothing, and then Roberta Laundrie walks into the Carlton Reserve and finds Bryan's remains within like 30 minutes. It left me with very little faith in law enforcement and FBI. They also thought that Roberta Laundrie was Bryan Laundrie at one point. So you see, that's where my jaded feelings were, right? So But I was wrong. The police work that Moscow did with the FBI was absolutely phenomenal police work. They kept everything really close to the vest. They arrested somebody. They had a lot of evidence. They purposely threw things off. I mean, it was. I don't think I ever remember a case where the police work was this good. Like, I mean, it was good. My point in mentioning all that is that they're not going to if they're that good on doing that, they're not going to get that far to then mess up. So I think that what you saw in that affidavit is the tip of the iceberg. I think that they have a ton more. And I can tell you this, because I think I said this earlier in the live when we did this earlier, watching the hearing. For them to get the warrant that they got in Pennsylvania, so an out-of-state, okay, Idaho's asking Pennsylvania to go in and arrest this dude. So out-of-state warrant, they have to prove to the judge that there's enough probable cause to not only issue a warrant, but you have to have extra probable cause in order to do a no-knock warrant. The way that they did, I forget there's a way that they called it, but 50 tactical people, SWAT, they had a drone flying around the house apparently for a couple hours, searching it. They've been surveying him for days. And then to go in at night, middle of the night, wake them up with guns, breaking windows and doors, that requires like some pretty damn good evidence for a judge to approve that. And that could be things that were outside of that affidavit that we don't know. So my point is, yes, I think that adding on to that, I think the state has great evidence. Okay. Do you know about the 35-page doc? Heard something about that, but didn't hear much detail on it. I don't, Jill. If somebody wants to give me some more, Judy has said. Judy, I love you. Thank you so much for sending what you sent over. I'm going to probably work on getting that out. And the ones that I've read are perfect. I'll figure out a way to deliver them in a video. But thank you so much for doing all of that. Judy Coleman, who is in this side, who's an attorney, she has been nice enough to help transcribe some of the not transcribe, but break down some of the documents into more layman's terms to be able to explain to y'all exactly what they mean and save me a fair bit of time. So thank you. But no, I don't know about the 35-page doc. Let me know. Somebody can let me know and I can look at it. Somebody asked if I'm going to stream Keith Morrison Dateline 2020. I think I said earlier on that I'm going to do my best to do that 90%. Emily said razor use is monitored. I do know that is true, especially for somebody like him. Tiffany's convinced she likes TikTok better. Like what y'all like, but at least do a follow on here because I'm trying to grow this and I want the watch hours too. Yeah, they're the one blades, the ones that are going to cut you all up. What became of the situation where they were, okay, let me set this one up. What became of this, and I'm going to get back to the questions on TikTok too. Don't worry. I'm just trying to read these things. I don't know what the 35-page doc is. What became of the situation where they were supposed to have door locks and it doesn't appear that the house was even locked? I don't know, Amber. This is there is so much confusion around coded door locks and what was open and what was unlocked, and the front door being wide open and the sliding glass door being wide open and the cold door or cold air coming in from the doors being open, etc. So okay, stream it on YouTube so you can watch. I believe that if I did this tonight, I believe that I'll be able to do that. I think so. Yeah, he will be able to plea at the preliminary. Okay, I want to put this one after. Wendy said something very nice, and I want to address it. Wendy said, Ethan's parents put out such a heartfelt statement. I feel they have a lot of confidence in the case with the fact that his siblings went back to campus. Ethan's parents put out a beautiful, beautiful statement. I posted it up. I think it's like 5 photos. I posted it up on my Instagram, which I would love to follow. Okay, so I have this little thing. I'm being very petty on Instagram right now, and I'm like 20 people away. So if you want to follow me there too, please do. I'm just trying to get more followers than a friend of mine who has, I think she's got 6736. I don't know. Basically, I'm like 20 off from her, and I just want to have more than her so I can brag. But for no other reason. But nevertheless, the stuff like that, that's smaller, that's not really video worthy by itself necessarily, that people would maybe want to take the time and read and process. I put that stuff on Instagram. So if you do want to go see the statement that Ethan's parents put out, it is on my Instagram. follow or don't, feel free to, well, obviously you can, but if you just want to go read the statement, totally cool. That's why I put it there. But it is an absolutely beautiful statement, and his family, Ethan's family, is coming from a true place of just absolute light. And it's like, it gives off like Gabby Petito's family energy. And if you guys have followed the Gabby Petito case, you know what that means. Gabby's family is goals. So Ethan's family is, I would say, pretty much the same thing. Do I think the gag order will be removed before that hearing in June or no? So Brianna, I think that's a good question about the gag order being removed. I think that they might release, maybe not everything, but I think that they might release bits and pieces of things. I know that they've talked about like releasing the 911 call. Chief Fry has mentioned that, amongst a few other things, and that could still happen. If the judge feels it's okay, then it will. Sorry, I'm just trying to get through this because I didn't get any attention during Banfield, so I'm trying to answer their questions, and I'll come back to and do both. Have they said if cameras will be allowed in the courtroom during the trial? All right, so Whitney, this is a good question too. So yes, cameras are going to be allowed in the courtroom during the trial. In fact, there were cameras today in the courtroom. The cameras are not allowed to live stream though. There's no live streaming, no live tweeting. So basically what has to happen is either in between breaks or after the day, that's when they will be able to start sending the footage out for news networks and everybody else to be able to share it. Now, will that change once you have a trial undergoing? Will they allow a trial to be live streamed? That could change. It's really up to the judge's discretion. It is allowed in Idaho, pending on what the judge says. Okay, so Alexis said this. I'm going to put this out there for everybody who wants to hear it, because I need to go back now based on what you're saying and go look at the video again, because I didn't notice this. She says, in my opinion, the first thing I noticed was the body language of the defense attorney compared to the first hearing. She was so much farther away, white-faced, just studying body language, you could tell. I didn't notice that, but that's interesting, because that would mean that she knows more, or she has seen more, and we don't know. Obviously, there's attorney-client confidentiality and privilege. So he might have said things to her. He can flat out say to her, "Yeah, I did it," which I don't think he would have. And she can't. She's his attorney. She can't say anything. And if she did, that would be a win for him, because then it basically would be a mistrial. The car has to have. Okay, I want to talk. You guys have some really good questions and comments on here. So, and I think I'm getting caught up almost. Yeah, I'm almost caught up on YouTube, so I'll be able to look at some TikTok questions too. So Tiffany says, the car has to have evidence. Bleach in 409 can't get rid of blood. Yes, no matter how hard he tried to clean it, there is still going to be molecular evidence in that car. The only way to get rid of it, and even then it's not a guarantee, is you would have to replace everything on the interior of that car. So, for example, if you guys think about where your horn is, there's crevices there. When you think about in between your seats, the fibers in seats. I don't know if the car had leather or cloth. It's an Elantra, which is more of an entry-level vehicle, so I would imagine it's cloth. Although I'm sure you can get one with leather, but I would imagine it's cloth. And so that's going to have, the foam and everything would absorb some. The carpet fibers are going to have something. The mats, there's just so many little places, in between where like the panels on the interior come together. There are so many places for DNA and evidence to hide, molecular evidence to hide. So yeah, the car had been described earlier. I forget by who. I know it was somebody on Banfield. The car was described at one point as a rolling crime scene. Will the FBI be involved? They've been involved a little bit, so they've definitely used their resources. Moscow and the ISP have taken advantage of, and utilized the resources that were offered to them. And I would imagine, especially if there is evidence that has come from those resources, then the FBI will probably be involved at the very least to help explain it, because they would be the ones who would be the experts in that. But as Judy said, FBI might help with evidence processing. So that's kind of what I mean. So she kind of answered, FBI might help with evidence processing, but it wasn't an interstate crime. No federal charges. Correct. Yeah, there's no federal charges. The only thing they would be able to do is come in and talk about anything that was FBI resources that were used. So I think the parents might have bought the knife as a gift and know he did it. I'm gonna answer this because I think that's a good question too. So the question on TikTok was, do I think the parents maybe bought the knife as a gift and know he did it? I don't think the parents knew. I truly don't. I truly don't. What's happening here? We're getting into a fight over here? What's happening over here? I'm gonna let y'all dish it out. There is a rumor, completely unconfirmed, that somebody before he was right after he was arrested, maybe, or before he was arrested, right after he was arrested, came out and said that he had bought the knife from him. This guy said he bought the knife from him off of like Facebook Marketplace. Now again, that could be true, it could be not true. I don't know. That guy kind of went quiet right after the arrest after he said that. So it could have been somebody seeking 5 minutes of fame. It could be somebody who actually did sell him the knife. It could have come from a store. He could have bought it from a store. We don't really know. But I personally don't think that his parents knew. Call it a gut feeling. It's very different. Like when I covered Gabby Petito, like there is nothing you can tell me that will make me think that Roberta Laundrie didn't know. Roberta Laundrie, there's no way that she didn't know. So as far as his parents, though, I think his parents are honestly, I think that they're good people. In fact, actually, there was one of those. I don't know if my wife's in either of these. If so, maybe she could chime in. But she saw something earlier. I think it came in through Reddit. But like apparently, his mom was playing like one of those games where you design a room, and they have a little message board where all the older ladies talk, and she was bragging about her son. Oh, the doc and the airmail news. So I know a little bit about the airmail news. Remind me in a few minutes to come back to that if I forget, because I do have some notes on that. We could talk about some of that, and yeah, so that's what you're talking about. But the mom was sitting there bragging about her son, how he just graduated with his master's, was getting ready to move to Washington to pursue his PhD. These are proud parents, proud of their child. What seem to be loving parents. Even in the XR things that, the post from when Bryan was much younger, like 14, 16 years old, even he says then that he feels bad for the way he treats his dad, that his dad was a good man. So I just don't think his parents know. And I think that, a lot of people are like, well, why did his dad fly out and drive back with him? He must have known. I think his dad was like, you know what, son, I want to spend some time with you. I'm going to fly out. We'll just drive back together so you don't have to do it alone. That's how I think it went, personally. Do you think Bryan knows that he is hung and that is why he's staying in jail for so long? I think that Bryan thinks he's going to get out of it. Going under the presumption of innocent until proven guilty, we're technically supposed to presume that Bryan is innocent. But fortunately, the court of public opinion is a very different thing. And I believe that Bryan is just incredibly guilty. And part of me wonders if he did this because he's so arrogant that he thinks that he can get away with this. I don't know. Obviously, that's just a thought. But I think it's very interesting to me because for somebody who is, claiming that they're innocent, he's not like protesting it. He's not boisterous and loud about like, I did not do this. He's just kind of says very few things. He doesn't talk to the police very much. He, and if he was innocent, then why would he not talk? He's got nothing to hide, but again, this is just the way I'm looking at it. There could be a lot of reasons, I know, but, because police can use things against you, but, to want to stay in jail for, 6.5 months, he's already been in jail for a couple of weeks, or really 7 months by the time this is all said and done, before he even goes to trial for something that he didn't do. I think that he would be a little bit more vocal about it. In my opinion too, if he really felt the state had nothing against him and he could do it, then why waive the preliminary hearing, to have it, speedily. I'd want to get in and get out as quickly as I could because I don't want to sit my butt in jail. That's how I would look at it, personally. An innocent person wouldn't take out his trash in the neighbor's bin at 4 a.m. with gloves on. I don't think there's any more to address than that. I think that statement is self-explanatory, that an innocent person wouldn't take their trash out in their neighbor's bin at 4 a.m. while wearing surgical gloves. This dude loves middle of the night, early morning kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's Tory. Yeah, exactly. All right, so this question is, why couldn't BK plead guilty or not guilty at the hearing today? Judy can correct me if I'm wrong on this, or anybody else who's in the law firm, but I believe that he could have talked to his lawyer and possibly could have entered a plea, but I think that he wants more time, so that's why they didn't do it. It was not that. Yeah, somebody said it was not that kind of hearing. It was a status hearing. Nothing like that could happen at a hearing like that, as I understand it. But thank you for being on both for us. I appreciate it. But he wants the time. Do I think that there was a lot of evidence? Angela asked, do I think there was a lot of evidence in his apartment? I do think that there was a lot of evidence in his apartment. There are a handful of pictures. Well, I remember watching it the night that they were doing it when Nancy Liu was out front, and they started bringing things out of Computer Tower. They loaded up SUVs with stuff and boxes and bins and bags. So I do think that they have a considerable amount of information or a considerable amount of evidence or things that they gathered from his apartment. I do. Okay, Tammy's saying that Tammy also thinks that she was different in the body language. So Rolling Hills. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why did he wave right? Unless, yeah, exactly as you said, he needs more time to prep. To me, that doesn't show innocence, but that's just it. Your Elantra has that leather seat, so you have an upgraded model then, but still in the stitching, I'm sure. I know they're going to have some, like the higher trim levels are going to have that. I don't remember his being a higher trim level, but anyway, I could be wrong. Showing some love after being sent here earlier today from the Pascal show. This case is extremely heartbreaking. Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming over from the Pascal show. That's a lot of fun. That's my second time doing that with him. And man, I just really like him. He's just a good dude. And his show is I hate to use the word fun when we're talking about this kind of heavy stuff, but it's fun to do because he's easy to talk to. He's very respectful of the victims and everybody that's going on. He offers great insights. So yeah, I enjoy doing his show. Meg would like a recap of the news today. They kind of gave you that. Okay. How do you think BK feels about all the media attention? I don't know if and maybe I'm wrong, unless his attorney's telling him, I don't know how much he knows. He's getting, obviously he knows that there's court cameras there. He knows that there was a nationwide manhunt. He might have heard or saw that Nancy Grace was out there. I don't know if he would know that people have started really like deep diving him. But he probably, if his goal is to become notorious or infamous, then I think he's eating it up. If he's got bits of narcissism in him, then he's definitely eating it up. I think that they had a psychologist on, I don't remember I think it was Banfield last night. And the thing about the psychologist that kind of bothered me was that she kind of diagnosed Bryan without ever meeting Bryan. Now, I think that we can have a discussion and probably agree that he exhibits certain tendencies, right? But to diagnose, and we learned this in the Johnny Depp trial too, to diagnose somebody without ever meeting them is not really a smart thing to do, as far as psychiatry goes, in my opinion. Okay. Do I think that the glove they found at the crime scene was Bryan's or from the police? Honestly, Britt, I don't know. We really haven't heard much from the glove after that. And maybe it was from none of them. Maybe, there's that black jacket that people talked about being Maddie's. Maybe the glove fell out of it. I just don't know. Okay, I want to put Alexis's thing to go up. Were you surprised by this? I wasn't. This is an evidence-heavy trial with a lot of discovery. 4 counts of capital murder trials usually last over a year at least, just beyond sad for these families. So no, that's kind of thing. It's very interesting with Idaho because Idaho does have a tendency to move things along pretty quickly. Typically, if everything goes accordingly, they have to have him in trial in 6 months. They're going to be doing a preliminary hearing in 6 months because he willingly waived the speedy process and everything like that. But Idaho seems to move pretty quickly. But yeah, I agree. You're talking about 4 counts of capital murder and a felony burglary charge. Let's not forget that one. I know that in comparison to murder, it pales in comparison. But yeah, it's going to take a lot of time to prep for that. And I think that the state has a ton of evidence, a ton. So maybe maybe some of the things that we have seen and heard lawyers go back and forth on, like pings and all some circumstantial things. Yeah, holes can probably be poked into it. But the thing about it is that when you're looking at circumstantial evidence like that and you have a ton of it, you might be able to poke certain holes in it, but when you put it all together, it makes it a lot harder to poke holes in my opinion. So, yeah, the neighbor was kind of strange. If he oh, that's a good question. This is a question for Judy. I don't know if she saw this one, if she's still in here. Judy, if you're in here, I don't know the answer to this. Maybe somebody else does. If there's somebody on either side that knows, that for you guys on TikTok or here, and just so y'all know, there's 469 people here and on 471, and on YouTube there's 89. So if you have a question, you might want to jump over to YouTube because then I'll have a better chance of seeing it. But if he drops evidence in the trash in Pennsylvania, would that qualify it as federal? So they got the trash in Pennsylvania, sent it to a lab, and they used that trash, the trash from the parents' house, to do the DNA match. So I don't know. That's a great question. If somebody knows the answer to that, I would love to I think they will eventually, Teeny. I think they will eventually release if any data or if any DNA evidence was found in the car. Yeah, a lot of people ask me about Dateline 2020 streaming it. I'm going to try to do that. What do I think the chances are of law enforcement finding the knife? Unless they already have it, I think it's slim to none. He chucked that thing. Okay. All right. So Sydney asks, isn't it common to plead guilty if the odds are stacked against you? You get a lighter sentence. It depends on the crime. So in this case, yes and no. For him, a lighter sentence would be life in prison without the chance of parole compared to the death penalty. That would be the difference. So his choices of conviction at this point, if he made a plea, if it was really heavy, would be, do I want to spend the rest of my life in jail? He's 28 years old. I mean, he's got probably a lot of life left in him. He's 28 years old. Does he want to spend the rest of his life in prison, or, does he want to be put to death? I think that they're going to go after the death penalty. And I mean, I don't think anybody's going to. I am on YouTube as well. How many people over here? There's 96 compared to the 400 there. So that's why I'm able to see some more stuff a little bit easier. So, yeah, if you're talking about like grand theft or larceny or some white collar crime or, something that life, especially for, weren't necessarily taken, manslaughter being the exception. Yeah, you can plead guilty to take a lesser, or no contest in some cases, to take a lesser sentence. So yeah, and that's what I was trying to think about the police. The going back to look at the police videos to see if it was fabric. I need to do that. Was it ever confirmed that Bryan asked? Okay, let me scroll up here. Was it ever confirmed that Bryan asked if anyone else was arrested when he was arrested in PA, or is that a rumor? Trish, that was not a rumor. That was asked. That is confirmed. Did he cut himself on purpose shaving? Why would they share that to the public? Okay, so let me see if I can pull up a picture for you guys. I'll show you why they asked him that. This is what I can do on YouTube that I can't do here. Do I ever feel weird talking to a bunch of people on the live? You know what? The first couple times I did it, yeah, but now I do it so much that I'm used to it. It's honestly, what's interesting about that observation is I used to be really whatever about presenting for like work and stuff, but then I sit back and think and I'm like, I got videos with millions of views, one of which that has like 13 million views. And I'm like, I'm literally standing in front of these people talking about something. So if I can do that in front of, 443 here plus, 500, 550 people total, then I can definitely do it in front of a group of like 10 of my colleagues. So it's interesting how it's kind of worked out as far as public speaking goes. But let me see if I can find images from today. I find a good picture here. Trying to find a good picture. Court appearance. Let's look at this. 11 hours ago. That would have been about, well, no. I need something that was like, is this it? Here we go. This might be it. Freaking New York Post, man. Okay, yeah, let me pull it up. All right, hold please. Yeah, this is what I can do on YouTube that I can't do on TikTok, which is why it's pretty awesome. Okay, let me pull this up. Go to present here. Share screen, window, this one. Share. There we go. Okay, so this is what people are talking about here. He's got this cut. Oh, let me go here. You got this cut right here. I'm just going to scroll in there. It's kind of blurry, but he's got a cut here and he's got a cut over here, right? So what happened is when he walked in, everybody kind of noticed that. And let me see if I can try. Let me see if I can make it so you guys can see this. Hold on. So I'm gonna try with you guys. There, y'all can kind of see it there. There we go. So if you go right here and right here, you can kind of see the cut again. I know it's a grainy, blurry photo. Sorry about that. So a lot of people were asking, like, well, what is that? Why? You know, what happened to him? You know, I guess I don't know if people thought he was getting beat up or he tried to inflict pain on himself or whatever. But that's why people have been talking about it, because, I mean, that's a pretty nasty cut right there. That's a pretty big gash, that one too, especially for some, you know, he's probably been shaving for a decade and a half, you know, but those big razors, man, I'm telling you, they will eat your face up. So, yeah. So, but see, guys, this is what I can do I can pull these windows up here on YouTube. And anyways, that's what I do. So that's what that was about. I'll make it so y'all can see it. So yeah, that's why they were talking about it. I don't think he cut himself on purpose though, Meg. I think it's just a bad razor. Oh, thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate that. You didn't miss much on Banfield tonight. Basically, with the exception of 5 minutes, it was 100% about the death of Lisa Marie Presley. Isn't it called a plea bargain? Yes, it would be a plea bargain. Plea bargain. There we go. How the hell is there no blood trail? Exactly. You went from TikTok to here. Happy median. Exactly. But see, because I can do all this up here. Thank you. Judy's going to check and stuff because I don't really know. I don't know if it qualifies. Yeah, Bunny says she doesn't think it qualifies. Judy said she'd look it up, so we'll find out hopefully the answer of that soon. Do I think he left the scene so messy on purpose? I mean, I think it depends on what you mean by messy. If you mean like by bloody, then I mean, I don't think that you can. And I think that's going to be a segue. I might pause in a second on this question because I know people asked about the 35-page document here and here, which is one on Airmail. And I'll see if I can pull up the Airmail article here on YouTube and show you this. But I mean, you're talking about a lot of blood. You know, each person's got like a gallon plus in them, give or take, a gallon, give or take. And you've got 4 deaths. I think 1.25 gallons is roughly right. So you have a total of like 5 gallons of blood. Now, if you really want to think about that and get trigger warning here, think about buying 5-gallon jugs of milk and just dumping them on the ground. I mean, that's a lot of blood. Like, you know, one of those big Home Depot buckets, 5-gallon buckets full of blood. I mean, it's significant. I'm not trying to be like whatever, but I'm just trying to give you guys the image of how much there was. Plus, you know, whatever else he did. But in my opinion, he didn't really leave the crime scene overly messy because he really didn't leave much of a trace. Yes, Lisa Marie Presley passed away, age 54, of cardiac arrest. I did a video on it. If you go watch it, please don't come at me that I made a mistake and said that her and Michael Jackson, when they were married, had children. This was something that was wrong with my Mandela effect. I thought that the 2 kids that Michael had were hers, but they weren't. Anyways, but yes, she passed away. So, yeah, guys, this is a good way of putting it. You could paint 700 square feet, a 700 square foot apartment twice with the 5-gallon bucket of paint. Or I guess that would be also a 1,400 square foot apartment as well, or house with 5 gallons of paint. It's a lot. It's considerable. So that being said, let me pause on the questions real quick. I will get to them because I always try to answer all the questions before I get off. Let me see if I can find that Airmail article. Give me 1 second here. People asked about this. So the Airmail article is a 35-page doc people are talking about. I've not read the whole thing. I've known experts of it. I will talk to you about the excerpts real quick. But I'm going to give you all a huge trigger warning. It is gory. It is graphic. And so if that is not something that you want to hear, you have been warned. All right, let me see if I can find it. Are you going to make me? I don't want to log in. No, I don't want to log in. See if I can find it. I don't want to log into this thing. Okay, I'm going to talk about, I took notes on it yesterday. I'm going to talk about some of the things that they talked about on Banfield with it and brought up. So first of all, take this as not being fully confirmed. Okay. I think Vanity Fair or New York Post or somebody had it. Yeah. But let me see. I'll try again to get it up there. Oh my God. Did I get rid of my dot? Let me see if I can. I hope I didn't get rid of them. I think I got, okay. Now I'm going to have to find this. I'm going to have to do it. All right. My notes actually got deleted. As an exclusive look, I'm going to have to. This is 6 days old, but we'll see. It's going to make me join it. See, guys, for y'all, I'm getting spam. That's what I'm getting. To give you guys the information. And is it going to let me go? Or it won't go anyways. All right, well, I'll talk about some of the stuff that I remember then while I'm trying to get it to. You know, try Vanity Fair. Let me see if I can try Vanity Fair. Yeah, because I'm entering basically to my email address to log into this. And I don't want to pay $10 to read this article. Okay, I'm just going to tell you what it says then. So basically, the thing that I remember from last night, because it was graphic and gory, was that basically when somebody said that the police officers, when they came in, and this was supposedly with an interview with a police officer or somebody who was on the scene or who had information, basically that the smell of blood was overwhelming when they walked in, and that there were literal chunks of flesh. Basically, it went on to describe how gruesome the crime scene was, amongst other things. I'll keep trying to get this article to pull up. Maybe I'll try it on a different browser, but but the thing about it is they got a lot of things in the article wrong, like the name of the dog and certain things in the timeline. So it's like, is it real? Is it legit? Or is it, let's try to go here real quick and get it. Or is it just a piece to, get people talking and spreading rumors? Okay, this one's working maybe. So I might be able to get this pulled up then. Okay, I'm going to get this pulled up. We're going to read it together. I got it to work. All right, here is the article. And I don't want the whole screen. I want just this screen. There we go. Okay, so here's the article here. So let's talk about this. Let me see if I can show this to y'all as well. I'm gonna do my best, guys. I don't know if I might not be able to get this thing. Yeah, I can't get that thing in a position to show y'all. Let me try to scroll through and find this. I'm looking for it. Oh, they were also talking about how the dispatch was understaffed and that typically they use the term unconscious person when they don't know 100% of what's going on. That's probably outlined in here. They talked about that. Yeah, here we go. And the dispatch crew's local newspaper report, they were severely understaffed. Overtime schedules often add up to a grueling 20 hours each week. In fact, the Dispatchers Guild has complained that our ability to uphold public safety is at risk. So a lot of times to just send people out, they'll use the term apparently unconscious person, which it says here is a standard catchphrase, and it can mean precisely what it says, or it can be shorthand for something far more ominous. So then they're talking about what happened with the call. Then he's going back in. Trying to find it because I know that I remember some of it. Okay, so they said this too. When the officers arrived at the scene, it was unnaturally eerie and silent. A cluster of young students were milling outside the open front door of the house. They seemed stunned, as if drained by a deep and intense shock. When the three mystified officers approached the front door, someone in the crowd, it would later be shared, muttered a single plaintive word: "Dead." The coroner, who had once been an emergency room nurse in an earlier stage of life, would describe the scene in press interviews as chaos and lots of blood. A few others would even attempt to put what they saw into words. Here's what is okay, guys. Massive trigger warning on what I'm about to read for y'all. Okay, you can kind of see. Well, if you're on YouTube, you can already see it. It's right here. There was so much blood it had seeped through the wooden floors and run down the building's gray concrete foundation in jagged red rivulets. So then, oh, there we go. Okay. Again, trigger warning on this. Y'all can possibly read it here. Going to the second floor, they're talking about Xana's room. They opened the bedroom door to find two dead bodies, a male and a female. The pair was gruesomely drenched in blood, yet both their good-looking faces had oddly been preserved like masks. Xana Knodel, a grave, sad-eyed beauty who was blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that just talks about a little bit about them. On the third floor, things got, if possible, worse. In one bedroom, lying in a single bed, were two inert women, Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonsalves, and they might have been sisters or similar. They talk about their thing, talking about basically how pretty they are. I'm gonna come address that in a second too. Yet in their death, there was one gruesome difference. Kaylee, it would be reported. Okay, again, very trigger warning. Had been hacked with a particular ferocity. It was as if her wild assailant, or was it assailants? I think it was one, had been intent on gouging out chunks of her flesh. Large punctures was how the lacerations had been described. Maddie's wounds, while no less fatal, appeared less feral, more measured, at least in comparison. Then this is where one of the mistakes that they made. And last, they discovered a sign of life when they went across the hall into Kaylee's room. It was they correct. No, I'm blanking on what the dog's name is right now. What's the dog's name? Because I'm reading. Is it? It's not. They changed it because I think the dog's name is Murphy, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. Murphy. Okay, so they changed it to Murphy. It wasn't Murphy yesterday. It was something else. I was like, Murphy's right. So that was correct. Unharmed, not even marred by even a speck of blood. And then, that's basically kind of what it talks about. I'm trying to see if there's anything else, but yeah. So that is the 35. I guess this is the 35 page. And this, you can see how long it is. It is a part one, y'all. So I can try to read through this and see if there's any more information to pull out of it. But I know y'all had asked about that. Yeah, it says Murphy now. It didn't before. Correct. So they've changed it. It was Morgan. Thank you. Yes, yesterday it was Morgan. So anyways, yeah. So I'm going to scroll down. I know I've missed some columns, but I want to get into this discussion real quick, and then I can try to go back. Okay. trying to go back and look and see what y'all are saying. So somebody's asking who released this if there's a gag order. Okay, so just because there's a gag order, that's why a lot of these sources will do this anonymously, right? They'll come on and they'll say, well, it's anonymous because they don't want to lose their job or anything like that, but they'll share some information. So we don't know who at this airmail.news was the source. It seems to be sensationally written. And it could just be sensationalism. This article is on airmailnews.com. You have to enter. You can type in airmail Kohberger and you should be able to pull it up. It will ask you for your email address. All you have to do is enter your email address to allow you to do the article. So I used my real Justin's on TikTok email address, but if you have a spam email address, I would use that one. That's just me, or make one up. But it's 35 pages. It's very long. It's very long. So I'm going to scroll back and see what we missed here. Okay, if I haven't answered your question yet and you ask it again because I don't want to scroll back up. And again, same thing for y'all. Yeah, the whole article, that's why when I did last night's update, I didn't include any of this stuff. Because NewsNation couldn't corroborate it and confirm. It basically said it's unconfirmed. So I don't know if it's confirmed, and I don't like to share things that aren't confirmed. I'll talk about it all day long with you guys in a live, because I can sit there and say, hey, this is not confirmed, whereas I could say that in a video and people will ignore that and be like, oh my God, guess what I heard, and share it all over the place. So I know, yes, on YouTube, this live will be shared. But anyways, yeah, 35 pages for something that could have been 2. Exactly. I agree. So anyways, that's just that's what it is. And I didn't mention it in my recap yesterday because I didn't know. I don't know if it's true or not. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But yeah. They just confirmed that they may have included lesser included charges to prevent a Casey Anthony situation. Interesting. That's good. So that's interesting. That's an interesting thought that they might have included lesser charges like the burglary to help prevent a Casey Anthony situation. That's interesting. Was the cut on his arm from the car video with the police ever confirmed? No, it's not 100% confirmed. I posted it, and I said that when I posted it, I said, "Here's the video. To me, this looks like a cut. To me, it still looks like a cut." People were like, "It's hair," and I'm like, "You can look like okay, there you go. But there's no hair like that looks like that much darker compared to the rest of the hair on my arm." So for him to, I didn't buy that. People thought it was a shadow, but there's like a shadow just on this one little strip. But then in another video, you don't really see it. So I don't know. Did they confirm he went to his doctor's appointment days after the murder and no injuries were found? I had not heard that, Bunny Sue, so I can't answer that. I had that rumor is the first time I've heard that. So, yeah, to me it almost looked like stitches too. I'm trying to look up. So what is this? Okay, I put this up here. I'll go ahead and take this down here. So what does BK do for the next 6 months? Build a defense team. He must really think he is going to get out of this. Okay, so here's what Bryan's going to do in the next 6 months. He's going to sit in jail. Here's what he's going to do. He's going to have a lot of meetings with his public defender attorney. And the public defender thing, I'm not saying it because, it's one of those things where he can't afford an expensive lawyer. His parents can't afford an expensive lawyer. Ann Taylor is no joke, though. The public defender that he has, she is no joke. So, the state should be prepared. She's a good attorney. He's going to get a lot of PB&J. He's going to do that. Yeah, he's going to get a lot of PB. Probably read some books. He's going to be very lonely because I think they have him away from everybody else too. But yeah, he thinks he's going to get out of this. I believe he does think that. I'll tell you what's another interesting one. I did a video on it today. I'm going to switch gears for a second. I know that we want to talk about Idaho, and we will continue talking about Idaho. But I do want to bring up Anna Walsh for a second. Is that okay? Can I do that? Are y'all cool with that? Look over here. He can meet with her as many times as he needs to. Okay. So I did a video on. They're all saying yes here. I haven't seen the comments yet here. Okay, we're getting them now. I know that YouTube's a little bit more delayed. So Anna Walsh, her husband's been arrested for basically misleading the police. So Jeremy, I did make a video today, kind of my entry into it, kind of a catch up. Wasn't my best video because I was kind of in a rush, but it does get the point across. And I think that video was actually suppressed. If you go look at like my views in the last few videos I've made, up to Lisa Marie Presley, I think that TikTok's been suppressing me again, which they like to do from time to time, which is another reason to move stuff towards YouTube. But anyways, nevertheless, Anna Walsh, for those of y'all who aren't aware, interfering with the investigation. Thank you. That's what it was. Anna Walsh disappeared from her home. She left supposedly New Year's Day to go deal with a work emergency. She lives in Massachusetts to deal with a work emergency in Washington, D.C. Her typical way of getting there was to take a ride share like an Uber or Lyft or whatever to the airport, get on a plane, and head to D.C. 72 hours later, her work is concerned enough about her to report her missing. Her own husband in those 72 hours didn't report her missing. There's no evidence that she ever got into any rideshare. There's no evidence that she ever got onto any airplane. I'll come back to Idaho in a second. I promise. He then, and to give you a little background on the husband, he was already on house arrest, I think, awaiting sentencing for selling phony Andy Warhol paintings to a collector or a dealer. So yeah, exactly. Lars just asked. A lot of people have said, Sue's just said, Anna Walsh News just showed a picture of her face with a bruise and said that her husband tried to threaten to kill her in 2016. Yeah, there's a lot of things that have been popping up about that. And we talked about the cuts on his face. I'll do it again in a minute. Well, there's not really much to talk about. He cut himself shaving with a really cheap ass prison or jail razor. And I'm going to come back to Idaho. I promise. I think that, missing people, all of them deserve attention. And I need to do one on Shanquella Robinson as well. Her story, because she's not getting the press or the help that her case needs. So I need to do that as well. But everybody, so I just want to talk about this because this is a very interesting case with another Bryan. So her husband Bryan, then I guess tells the police that he's gone to this grocery store. He did not go to the grocery store. He did go to Home Depot though and spend $450 in cleaning supplies, things like tarps, mops, etc. Then he supposedly went to his mother's house, but got lost on the way to his mother's house. And then they checked a refuse transfer station up there, not far from his mom's house. And they found a bloodied rug, apparently, things that have, obviously, blood and apparently human tissue in it. It said, and they found a hacksaw. Oh, yeah. The other thing, too, he apparently in his search history had Googled how to dismember and dispose of a 115-pound body. His wife happens to be 115 pounds. So things aren't looking good for him. So, yeah, how do you get lost? Going to your mother's. Exactly. They've not found Anna's body. So, yeah. Anyway, I want to talk about this case. So she's still missing. I don't want to be negative, but the outcome of her life is not looking positive. That being said, the outcome of her life is not looking positive. But in the incredibly off chance that she's alive, that's important to share these stories. If anybody saw anything that could do something. Banfield has talked about it a little bit, I think last night or the night before. She was supposed to talk about it more, but she didn't. But this is a really sad case. She doesn't have family here. She was a Serbian. She's a Serbian who moved here. Her family's all over in Serbia. She's got 3 young boys, I think 2, 4, and 6, who are now with friends. The state, I think they were staying with friends. The state's obviously getting involved. They had 3 children, and the state's getting involved, and now the community is pleading not to separate the children. So I just want to give that case a little bit of a talking about, and yeah, they're like babies, because I think that it deserves attention. Yeah, they're state custody now. That's terrible. State custody is not a good thing. Yeah, I think that it's not good. State custody. It's a different discussion for a different day, but it's not a good thing. So yeah, something else said something too. I want to go back to this. It's a little bit off topic, because I want to vent about this. He did the Google search on how to do that on his son's tablet. Okay, Abby, I missed that part. So apparently he did the Google search on how to do that from his son's tablet. So Bernard Britt says, all these Bryan, these men sure are dumb. And this reminds me of something else. I'm very perturbed, so when you're a creator, and you do this kind of stuff and you have a lot of followers, you have to have thick skin, right? Because people are going to come at you. And most of the time I don't really let it get to me unless they start to try to attack my integrity, in which case I will pop back, usually pretty hard. But I did a news story because people have asked, what am I going to do in between the 6 months here? And I'll talk about other stories and things that come in the news and whatnot. But I did a story the other day. I don't know if y'all have seen it. It was on TikTok about Ron Jeremy. If you guys don't know who Ron Jeremy is, I'm imagining most of y'all probably have at least heard the name. He was a very well-known, and we'll say well-endowed adult film actor in the 1970s and I guess 80s. But kind of looked like Gallagher crossed with Danny DeVito. So not a great looking guy. That being said, he had accusations from 30 women. And one of them actually was a girl. At least one was a girl who was 15 years old at the time, of sexual assault. And since I'm on TikTok, I can't say the R word, but rhymes with great. Okay. And so because he's not fit for trial, he's not going to face anything. So I just shared the article. I didn't give at the time, I did not give my opinion. Samantha did bring up my opinion in a different video. And the comments on that video infuriate me. Absolutely infuriate me. To the point, and I mean no offense to anybody that's in here, if you are of the baby boomer generation, I seriously don't. But there are certain members of every generation, and unfortunately, there's a lot of men in the baby boomer generation that are, we will say, very problematic. And so, not that, Xers, and I'm a millennial, that Xers don't have their issues, millennials don't have their issues, and Gen Z, we all do. But there is a sentiment among men of that generation, a lot of them, that women ask for it, they get what they deserve. Hell, my own father said that in front of my wife and my 3-year-old daughter, and we had to have a very stern conversation where we corrected him, saying, okay, so what, Victoria is 14 years old, she's in a bikini, and because she's in a bikini on the beach, some guy decides to, assault her, she deserved that because she would, that's kind of the way they're thinking about it. And these people, I'm just saying, if you want to go get infuriated, read the comments, because if you guys know my content, I'm very pro-woman and keeping, especially because I have a daughter, keeping, women's safety, and the fact that a lot of women don't call out what happens to them because of the shaming and people not believing. And by the way, one of the comments is how many women lie about it. I'll tell you, 5.2% lie about it. It's nothing. It's negligible. But all these guys are coming after them. Anyways, I'll stop ranting on this, but I'm just absolutely furious about these comments, and it makes me very sad for the world. But I told a lot of these people that thank God your generation is dying at 5,000 a day, because the world would be a better place without people like you. So maybe I should not have said that. And again, anybody who's in this live, I don't feel like you guys feel that way. I don't mean that towards you. I mean it to these particular individuals. So I'm going to get off my soapbox now. How do you find the article I was reading earlier? Okay, I will stop and go back to that. So, but yeah, it's very rare for comments to infuriate me the way that those did. So, to find the article that I was reading, this 35-page thing, you type in airmail, 2 words or 1 word, airmail, and then type in Kohberger, and it's going to bring you to a news site that you have never heard of. So you're like, what am I about to click on? But you can click on it, safe. I've already done it. And all you have to do is enter your email address, and it'll let you read this thing. But take that for what it's worth. It's very long. It's very sensationalized. And for what that is. The other thing too, I'm going to say, going back to all of that real quick, is people keep saying what a good guy Ron Jeremy is. And I'm just going to go ahead and say there is nobody. You found this article on Reddit. Somebody said they found this article on Reddit. Ashleigh, what did you have to search to find this article there? So I can let the people on TikTok know. People left my thing on that. Can you post what on YouTube, Pat? Oh yeah, they kept saying that she deserted it. These women were in the industry, and I actually said to one guy who was saying like, "Oh well, they're all in the industry," which there was no indication that they were. I said, "Oh yeah," I said, 15-year-olds are in the industry. What kind of adult content are you watching? Should the authorities come check out your computer?" And he didn't respond to that, because if he's watching stuff with 15-year-olds in it, then that's a problem. But anyways, oh, it's the Moscow Murders. Okay, in the Moscow Murders group. On Reddit, you can apparently find this article. So I would imagine you could search it by airmail or something like that, but you can find it there as well, or do the thing where you go to search Kohberger and airmail and enter it there as well. But anyways, nobody in that industry is good people, is what I'm going to say. Nobody is in that industry is good people. So no, I know you are. I'm not saying that. I'm not arguing that. I'm just, like I said, I will stop. A lot of people left when I started talking about that. I guess they did not agree with me. So if they didn't, good riddance. But yeah, anyways, I will digress. Back to Idaho. So what questions do we have on both sides? Yeah, he's going to be declared unfit as soon as the 17th. Can you post? I don't know how to post an entire article on YouTube. I could maybe do screenshots of the article and post it on Instagram. I could possibly do that. I don't know how to post a 35-page article. I mean, it's not because it's not a video. Well, I can share the link, but the link's still going to make you enter an email address. How do I know that he's going to be declared unfit? That's because, yeah, a screenshot on Instagram would probably be okay. That's why I post stuff like that. That's why I post stuff like that on Instagram. It'd be 3 posts on Instagram, so I could probably do that. I think that the family, what do I think the families think of the articles? I think that they probably, if they've read them, so Maddie's dad was on last night, and he was talking about how he's tried to get through the affidavit, and he can't get through the affidavit. So I don't think that he's would, a lot of times these families, that's kind of the thing about it. And I said this on Pascal, when you're talking about Dylan and you're talking about Bethany and you're talking about the family of all of these victims, when people come out there and they spout these rumors about all these people, especially people who can't defend themselves. We'll talk about Dylan in a second. People who can't defend themselves. I think it's incredibly disrespectful to the family. Like to go around and say, oh yeah, Maddie was a heavy drug user, blah, blah, blah. There's no evidence of that. And Bryan was their drug dealer. And the other thing on that one, I'm thinking about that one in particular. The other thing about that whole situation where people are accusing that, Bryan had not been in Moscow or in Pullman that long. He had not been in the Pacific Northwest that long. You don't come in out of nowhere and set up drug trafficking. You know? Oh, really? I'm on a Mac, Sarah, so I don't know how to do that. Sarah says that I can, on a Mac, save any website as a PDF and create a PDF link from there. That's interesting. So if I can do that, I will do that, and I'll put that in my link tree. But anyways, you're not going to set up shop that quickly, right? And start selling drugs. But on top of that, now you have a girl who is dead. And, you know, I feel bad for every single parent that lost a child in this. I do. I feel especially bad, though, a little worse for Maddie's family. And the reason for that is Maddie was an only child. And they took her only child. They took their only child away. My daughter is an only child. And so, you know, I feel like I can empathize with that a little bit more. Because not that having other children replaces the child that you lost, but you have to then focus on those other kids. Yeah, I know. My shirt does go around Jeremy's story. And this is how I live my life. So, anyways, yeah, I know that the items that we're talking about, or if you're talking about the stories, they're not going to come out. I'm just saying that it's, okay, click as if you're going to print it. I'm going to see if I can do this. Okay. Okay, if I go to print, save as PDF, well, I'll be damned. All right, save it. Okay, so I saved it. Now can I create a link from there? Share more. Can I share it as a link? Okay, I'll have to play with that. I'm sure that's going to be self-explanatory. So, okay, I might be able to get this and put it up for y'all if I can. I don't know. Oh, this is a great question. If you could have any factual information right now, one question, what would you want to know? Okay, that's actually easy. If I could have one piece of factual information outside of Bryan admitting he did it, the one piece of information that I would want to know is what was in his apartment that is so compelling or so volatile that releasing what they found would be a threat to public safety. That would be why. That would be what I want to know. Outside of, again, him telling us why, a motive. Outside of Bryan telling us a motive or if he did it, that would be the one thing I would want to know. That was a good question. It is police lingo, but they could have said we're going to keep it sealed. Yeah, I don't know what, I don't know what he had. Oh yeah, there's lots of sites that do that. Okay, thank you, Sarah. Great idea. You are awesome. Thank you. Okay, so I know that a couple people have asked about shaving and him cutting himself. So yes, when you are in there, you can shave. And I'll tell you kind of how I know this stuff. So I used to work I sold medical devices and a lot of like bandages and all sorts of things like that. And one of the customers that we would sell to were certain prison systems. And we would do that through one of our vendors. And our vendor so sold into prisons, and they also supplied like the toothbrushes and combs and toothpaste and any shampoo and soap, etc. And they supplied razors. So they are the cheap, like for men, the little orange handled. Let me see. I'm gonna get a thing of it. Here's a picture. I'll show you what we're talking about. I'll try to show you guys too over there. We're talking about this guy. Come on. Okay, so for this, I'm looking at this. The link that I'm getting this from, that I'm going to show you all the image of, that what they would use. You can get a pack of 200 for $34. That's a terrible picture. Let me find a better picture. There you go. Open image in new tab. Bam. Okay, let me share this with you. This is the razor. I'll share it with you guys on TikTok too in a second. I'll move it. Okay, that is the razor that you're talking about. Here is the razor. And I don't know if any of you guys, because I know they make a women's razor too. I'll try to see. That is the razor that we're talking about right there. Okay. And you're going to cut yourself every single time you use one of those. They are horrible. So that is the razor. And yes, you are allowed to shave. They do give you some cheap ass shaving cream. Everything is bottom rung, cheap as they can be. So that's what I'm saying. That's what he shaved with, is that thing. Yeah, yeah. Those are very, very cheap. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't know if y'all were thinking of, this is what I pictured. This is what I know was sold into, at least in my territory. These were what were sold into the prison system and the jail system. So yes, it is, Anna. It is Bix. 100%. It is Bix. Oh, Wendy, that sounds awesome. If I can do something with it, I'll definitely make a video on that too. So Wendy sent me something. I sent you an email that was on Duty Ron that had some interesting info about how the FBI will process the car. Great info. So if I'll do a video on that. I am not familiar with that. Let me Google it. And I'm only gonna be off for a few more minutes because I gotta get some sleep tonight. But sometimes. Bigron Healthcare Company. Okay. I've seen the logo, I think. I've seen the logo. What are they? It's compounding pharmaceutical. Okay. So it's a pharmacy supplier. That is a good company. Yeah, they sell the big single blades and then they sell the bandages into it. I didn't watch Dr. Phil. I was out today. I know that he started doing a 2-day thing. I'll be honest, I can't stand Dr. Phil. He's not even a doctor. I'm going to try to stream the 2020 Dateline, or the Dateline thing. I think it's the same thing for you guys. Yes, I am going to wind down after all of this. And I have this brand new, amazing massage chair that I'm going to get in and do that with. Or a hot tub, which I have literally not used all winter. But I keep putting chemicals in case I get to use it. I would be using it, but I'm covering this case and hanging out with you guys, you nice people. Yeah, Anna, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm talking about what might be inside the house and maybe a wall with a room of like the pictures or something like that. Okay, he has a PhD. Okay, I did not know that, so I take it back. But he's not like a real doctor. But I guess he is technically a doctor. Judy, you teach me so many things. They might extend the March 1st warrant. They might. We'll see. So as I am, oh, you're welcome for the comment. Well, thank you guys for following and for supporting me. I will say this as I am getting ready to get toward the end here. I will try to stream Dateline tomorrow night, followed by Banfield. If it is Dateline, though, I'll be honest with you, I might not sit in here the whole time to answer questions because I won't be able to mute commercials because I do want to spend time with my kid a little bit. And my wife, this takes up a lot of the evening, and I'm not complaining about it because it's important, and I know it's getting ready to settle down, but I'm going to try to, spend a little time with them because my daughter gets really sad when I don't get to put her to bed. But anyways, if you don't mind, if you're following on TikTok and you have YouTube, I'm really trying to grow that channel. Please, even if it's just for the follow, just to give the tick, please consider following there. And again, Instagram, I will put a lot of other stuff. Again, stuff that's not video worthy. I'll put it there as well. Something that like, okay, here's a bunch of images or documents or whatever. I'll put that there for y'all to take a look at and read at your leisure. So if you want to follow that, you're of course welcome to do so as well. And for that, I don't really care so much about building followers on Instagram, but I'm like, when I haven't checked tonight, but earlier today I was about 20 away from surpassing a friend of mine, and I just want to surpass the friend just to say I passed her, and to be petty. That's what I want to do. That's my honesty. Yeah, these are type questions on a laptop for YouTube. I'm on a desktop, which I'm going to have to change this because I'm like carting like this full screen Mac from upstairs to downstairs, which is going to break it, and I don't want to do that. So I need to buy something else. So I'm doing more YouTube. So yeah, I will try to stream Dateline /2020, whichever it is. Somebody said 2020, some people said Dateline, but whatever it is, I will try to stream it tomorrow. But yeah, if people on TikTok don't mind following over on YouTube, I would appreciate it, and vice versa. On YouTube, on TikTok is where I post the vast majority of my content, although TikTok pisses me off a lot because not for my followers, not even for the commenters, but for TikTok themselves, they're challenging. They suppress content. They ban people for no reason. So yeah, that's it. But on that note, thank you guys for everything. I can't go out with an Alice Cooper song because I'm on YouTube and I'll get a violation, but we can maybe do something like that tomorrow or something. Maybe I'll show you all that. I like the hat or something like that. Coming to Nashville this weekend. Nice. Thoughts for Off-Broadway. So Broadway, thank you guys for subscribing. I don't go to Broadway because I live here. But you should look and see. Look, I don't know if you're a country person or not. And then I'll do this and then I'm going to bed. But I don't know if you're a country person or not. But I typically am not. I don't really like country music. It's not my vibe. Nothing against it, just not my thing. But that said, the Grand Ole Opry is a lot of fun to do, even though it is predominantly country, really all country. The Grand Ole Opry is really, really fun to do. I would encourage you, if you're in Nashville, to check that out. It's literally like a radio show. I mean, it's literally still broadcast on AM radio. It's still live on radio. It's really kind of like going back to the past, and it's something that I recommend for anybody who comes here. You can also look. There's a ton of little concert venues, little people that pop up, listening lounges, things like that. So yeah, check all those sort of things out. They're great. So Nashville can be a lot of fun. Yeah, Broadway, I just don't do it anymore. So, all right, you guys, have a great night, everyone. Thank y'all for hanging out. Thank y'all for the follows and the support and for always keeping it, really cool, really chill. So, yeah, I can chat about the Grizzlies going to jail next week. Absolutely. We can have a conversation about that. All right. Good night, everybody.